Hi guys, it's Kathy. I hope you're doing well and I hope you're ready for OJ. We're still on the stand with Nicole's sister. Oh, heartbreaking. And guess what I did during my short break? I picked up another cat. I picked up a cat. I did it on purpose because I wanted to, and he was very snuggly, and now I have more cat hair on me, and that's fine because I'm in my own house. All right, we're going into more sidebars today, I hope. No, just kidding. Maybe, maybe we'll get through today with no sidebars. We'll see. Here we go.
I need the court's guidance on one matter. Can we approach that sidebar for a moment?
Madam Reporter, how's your paper supply?
Okay. Never mind. Yes, this is Nicole's sister.
All right, the court, please.
What do you think this is right here? You get the panic button? Or is it just... No, no, it's not that. What is this right here? It's too small. They usually don't put light switches that far into a room. They're usually right by the door. She's coming.
All right, good morning again, Ms. Brown. You're reminded you're still under oath. Mr. Darden.
Ms. Brown, you described for us the incident after you went to the La Cantina restaurant, and you also described the incident at the Red Onion. And you also testified that you consumed alcohol on each of those specific occasions. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And on those occasions, did you have a drinking problem?
Yes, I did.
You're a recovering alcoholic?
Yes, I am. Sober for over a year now.
True,
During
but I still
January of
think it's a panic button.
1992, did your sister leave the defendant?
Yes, she did.
Overruled.
And did she move somewhere else?
She did.
Where did she move to?
To Gretna Green.
Okay. And did you visit her there?
Yes, I did.
How did the defendant react to your sister leaving him in January 1992?
Objection, possible speculation.
It's vague.
Did you ever discuss with the defendant his feelings about your sister leaving him in January 1992?
Objection, irrelevant. The court's already ruled on this.
Let me talk to counsel with the reporter, please.
Objection. No. Sit back down. Just let him answer the question. Ask the question. Let her answer the question.
All right, Mr. Darden, you may continue.
Ms. Brown, directing your attention to June 12, 1994. On that day, was a recital held for your niece, Sydney?
Yes, it was.
And where was that recital held, if you recall?
I think Paul Revere School.
And that's a middle school in Brentwood?
Yes, it is.
It was a dance recital, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And did you drive up from Laguna Beach to attend the recital?
Yes, I did.
Did other members of your family also drive up from Laguna Beach to attend the recital?
My whole family did.
That would include your sister Dominique and Tanya?
No, Tanya wasn't there. Dominique was, my mom and dad. My son. Dominique's son.
And so your son and who else?
My son and Dominique's son.
Did you go to the recital?
Yes, I did.
Did your sister Nicole go to the recital?
Yes, she did.
When you arrived at the, strike that, was the recital held in an auditorium?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Now when you arrived at the auditorium, was it full of people?
Packed.
Okay.
Yes.
And were you given a program for the recital?
Yes, we were.
And so did you know when and at what point Sydney would be dancing in the recital?
We did. She was second to last.
And how long was the recital scheduled to last, if you know?
I think it lasted longer than it was supposed to. I remember that. It lasted a couple of hours.
You know, when you and your family first entered the recital hall, did you take a seat?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Did your other family members take a seat?
Yes.
Was the defendant with you when you first arrived at the recital hall?
No, he was not.
And when you and your other family members took a seat in the auditorium, were you able to sit together in the same row?
No, we were not.
So the group was broken up then?
Yes.
Okay. Different people sat in different rows?
Yes.
Okay. Now at some point, did the defendant arrive?
Yes, he did.
And when he arrived at the recital, did you greet him?
He walked in on the other side and got a ticket from Dominique, and he kind of waved like that.
Okay, he kind of waved to you?
Right.
And did you acknowledge his wave?
I just smiled.
And your parents were there in a second.
Yes, they were.
Did the defendant greet your parents?
Yes, he did.
And how did he greet your parents, if you recall?
He went over and he was talking to them. They were sitting one row in front of me.
Did he also appear to greet your sister Tanya when she gave him the ticket?
Tanya wasn't there. It was Dominique.
I'm sorry, Dominique. Did he also appear to greet her?
Appeared so.
Okay.
cares?
Did he greet Nicole?
No, he did not.
Do you think it's Hermes? I mean, I know
Is it
Hermes has wings on the feet. It looks like someone running with wings popping out. I mean, maybe it could be an angel. I don't know. Or Hermes. I don't know. Or am I completely wrong? Do I have to look at it this way? What are they?
defendant say anything to Nicole that you heard?
No.
Was your sister Nicole seated to any other member of your family?
Nicole and Dominique were in the back, in one row behind me, and over about 3 or 4 seats.
Okay. And were they sitting directly next to each other?
I think so, unless there was a child in between them.
And so the defendant greeted Dominique, but he didn't greet your sister.
He didn't greet Nicole.
Maybe that is just hair and not wings. Maybe it's just a girl running. I'm going to keep going with it's Hermes, because I like that the best.
And when he greeted you and your sister Dominique and your parents, what was his demeanor?
He had a very bizarre look in his eyes. It was a very far away look.
Let's give it, counsel. Objection's overruled.
Thank you. You said he had a bizarre look, a faraway look.
He had a very far away look. It was actually really kind of spooky. It was a frightening look.
Was he smiling?
No. No.
Can you describe for us physically his physical demeanor at the time?
He just had a very different look about him. It wasn't like OJ just walking into a place and being, hey, here I am, kind of sure of himself type of attitude. It was more of a like a glazed over, kind of frightening, dark eyes. It just didn't look like the OJ that we knew.
Have a moment, Your Honor. Did he always have this glazed over look, that is, throughout the time he was at the recital that you saw?
Well, I wasn't watching him the whole time.
Okay. Okay, so the look you described for us a moment ago is the way he looked when he walked in and greeted your parents?
He was talking to my parents, which was right in front of me, so I was able to look at him.
Okay.
And then he sat behind me.
So did you turn around and look at him during the time that he was sitting behind you?
Yeah, I talked to him.
Did he appear happy and cheerful?
No, not at all. Actually, the only thing that he said to me was that he was here and he had to jump on a plane to Chicago.
And when the defendant sat behind you, did he sit directly behind you?
Yes, he did.
Did he remain sitting behind you?
No, he did not.
He got up?
Yes.
How long did he sit behind you before getting up?
Oh, I'm not really sure long enough to say those things. But then he got a chair and put it in the corner by one of the back doors. And he stuck the chair in the corner away from all the auditorium seats.
Well, had you said something to the defendant that might offend him?
No?
Did he tell you why he was taking a chair and taking it to a corner of the auditorium and sitting there away from everyone else?
No?
He sat in that chair in the corner of the auditorium?
Yes, he did.
He sat there alone and away from everyone else?
Yeah, I guess somebody went up and talked to him, but the majority of the time, I just saw him there by himself.
What was he doing as he sat there in the chair?
Every time I turned around, because my son went outside to play with the rest of the kids, every time I turned around, he was staring at Nicole.
Wish we leave that microphone alone.
Did you ever go over and talk to him? That is, while he was seated over in the corner in the chair alone?
No, I did not.
Was there ever a break or intermission? Was there ever a break or an intermission during the recital?
God, it was so long. I think there was a break, yeah.
Did you leave the auditorium? Do you recall?
No. Only at the end.
Okay. Do you recall if Nicole left the recital during the intermission?
I don't remember.
Did you ever see the defendant move the chair out of the corner?
No, I did not.
Did you ever see him get up from that chair in the corner and walk away?
No.
How long, if you recall, did the defendant sit in that chair in the corner and stare at your sister?
Oh, I don't know. I was watching the show. It was just every time I looked back to look for the children, that's when I would see him staring at her.
Did you point this out to anyone?
No, I didn't. No.
At some point the recital was over, is that correct?
Yes.
And did you and Nicole and your mother and father leave the recital hall?
No, actually, they left first, and my mom and dad and myself, we stayed there and we watched the very last show, the very last dance.
Your nephew, Justin, was in the auditorium, is that correct?
Yes, he was.
Okay. Did he visit with his father, the defendant?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And did everything seem normal and okay with the defendant and Justin?
Yes, seemed to be.
Did you ever see Justin with the defendant while the defendant was sitting in the corner?
I think Justin was sitting on his lap.
Now, had you and your parents and your sister planned to go somewhere after the recital was over?
Yes, we did. We were going out to dinner.
Okay. And where were you planning to go?
We were going to Mezzaluna restaurant.
And as you left the recital hall, did you see the defendant?
Yes, we did. We walked out with him. Or actually, he was outside, and we met him as soon as we walked out the door. And we walked to the front of the school with him and a friend of his.
Did he give his daughter Sydney anything?
I didn't see him give them to her, but he had given her some flowers.
Did you say anything to the defendant as you left the recital hall?
I don't know if I said anything, but there was conversation going on.
Okay. You heard the defendant talking?
Oh, yeah.
Who was he talking to?
My mom, my dad,
What did you hear him say?
Ron.
Can't call CPS because they're all adults. Ha!
You know what? I don't remember. It was just about we're going to the restaurant, and I'm not sure what else.
Did you invite the defendant to go to the Mezzaluna with you and the rest of the family?
No, I did not.
Did you hear anyone else invite the defendant to go to the Mezzaluna?
No, I did not.
I take it that you and your family and the children got into your cars and vans and the like?
We got into the cars and we drove over to Mezzaluna restaurant.
Okay. Did the defendant go with you?
To Mezzaluna?
Yes.
No.
Did you have dinner?
Yes, we did.
What did you do after dinner was over?
We got up and we walked out, and Nicole was gonna go get some ice cream with the kids, and we kissed each other goodbye. The last thing I told her was that I loved her. I'm sorry.
Ms. Brown, do you want us to just take a few moments now?
Do you mind?
Mr. Darden,
Yes, Your Honor?
I asked your witness if she wanted to take a few moments.
Oh, I'm okay. I'll be all right.
Ms. Brown, when you last saw your sister, what was her demeanor?
Too happy because we'd made so many plans to go do stuff. We were gonna take the kids on a camping trip. We were gonna go to Yosemite. We were gonna go to Club Med. We were gonna just do everything with the children.
Ms. Brown, I see that you're wearing in court today studs on one ear and a dangling sort of earring on the other ear. Is that correct?
Yes.
No, please don't object. Please,
Sustained.
Can we
please.
approach?
No.
Not at this point.
It is relevant. It is relevant.
Or you can just let me ask two follow-up questions relative to the obvious. You better approach it.
Let me.
So rude. Oh my God, that was so rude. Ah, I bet it's an angel. It has to be an angel. I don't know what it is, but that was so rude. Come on, Judge. Please. I've never asked you for anything. Please let me know what that thing is. All right, I'm Googling it.
Mr.
I
Darden,
have no further questions, Your Honor.
thank you. Mr. Shapiro?
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
It was an angel. It is an angel. It was and is an angel.
Ms. Brown, I, as you know, have to ask you some questions.
Says that the Brown family wore angel-themed jewelry to symbolize their loss of Nicole.
Yes.
In preparation for your testimony, did you properly meet with members of the district attorney's office to go over the areas that you would be questioned on today?
Yes.
And have you done that on several occasions?
No.
How many occasions did you do that on?
Twice.
And did you meet with any other lawyer to go over any of the testimony that you might offer in court today?
Fozzie didn't say
You
angel.
haven't talked to any other lawyer
Oh,
about
yeah, he
this?
did.
No.
Other than prosecutors, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Mr. Darden.
And have you had a chance to review a transcript of the
Fozzie was
statement that you
faster.
gave to the district attorney's office and lawyers in January of this year?
Excuse me?
Have you had a chance to see a transcript of the statements you gave to the district attorney's lawyers and investigators in January of this year?
Yes.
And when was the last time you had a chance to review that?
It was maybe about 4 days ago.
And was it accurate? The things you said in that transcript,
As far as I remember, yes.
there wasn't anything that you called to the attention of any of the lawyers that you wanted to change?
Not that I remember.
The incident that you spoke about, and let's refer to it as the alleged Rockingham incident, the first incident when you were there with Ed McCabe.
Right.
Did you talk about that incident with the district attorneys?
Yes, I told them about that.
And did they ask you when this occurred?
Yes, they did.
And did you have an answer for them?
I had thought it was like I didn't know the exact year, but it was like in the mid-'80s after I had remembered.
Is that what you remember telling them?
I think I told them at the first that I didn't remember when it was, that I would check.
Did you tell them that you didn't know whether it was before or after O.J. had married your sister?
I told them I didn't remember, that I would check for them.
Do you remember telling them that it was either, that you couldn't even recall if it was before or after the marriage?
I did tell them that I would check.
And then you checked later?
Yes.
And what did you check to find that out?
Pictures that I had when I was dating Ed McCabe.
Ed McCabe was your boyfriend at the time?
Yes, he was.
And would you describe him as a substantial individual?
Yes.
He's a man who is involved in advertising,
He was at the time, yes.
and he still is.
I think now he has his own company.
And at that time, he was a well-respected man.
Yes, he was.
And you dated him for about 7 months.
I thought it was longer, but
How long do you recall?
I thought it was over a year.
And how long into the relationship was it that the events that took place in Rockingham were described? How long had you been seeing him?
I don't really remember how long we had been going out.
And prior to going back to Rockingham, you said you had been at some type of restaurant,
Right.
and there was some drinking going on?
Yes.
And you have told us that you had some problems with alcohol in the past.
Yes.
And do you recall what your state of sobriety was that night?
I had had a few drinks.
What do you remember as a few drinks? Do you have any specific recollection?
Of how many drinks I
Yes.
drank? No, I don't recall.
Did you feel the effects of the liquor? Do you
Sure,
remember
we were
that?
all happy.
And then you came back to the Rockingham house,
Yes.
and you had margaritas there at the house, did you not?
We had more drinks at the house.
And would you say that your state of sobriety was at least impaired?
Slightly.
And that would go for the same for everybody who was there.
Yes.
Do you have any recollection that O.J. didn't like people smoking in his house?
Oh, he didn't like cigarette smoke at all.
And your boyfriend, Ed McCabe, was a smoker, was he not, at that time?
Yes, he was.
And Nicole was kind of a part-time closet smoker, was she not?
I don't know if it was at that time, but yes.
And do you recall there being some words spoken by O.J. to Ed McCabe about smoking in the house and giving cigarettes to Nicole?
No, I don't.
Do you recall any discussion about that at all?
About smoking?
Yeah.
No.
If Ed McCabe's recollection on this issue was different than yours, would you say that that might be a fair recollection?
Objection, Your Honor. Objection. No question.
Sustain.
When was the first time that you had to think back about this incident in the early 80s?
The first time?
Yeah.
Actually, a girlfriend of mine reminded me.
How long ago was that? I'm just trying to get the time sequence, not how you did it, but when did you first refresh your memory about this incident?
It's never left my mind.
When were you called upon to recall that? Have you talked about that? Is that something you've talked about over 10 years with people?
That's when my girlfriend, she said to remember that, remember this.
When was
remember
this? I just don't want to know the time. About what?
that. When I told my girlfriend about it,
When your girlfriend told you about it, remember this, when did that come up?
it was after the murders.
So that's some 12 or 13 years later, is that correct?
This happened early 80s, yes.
Have you talked to anyone who was at the Rockingham house about that incident since the time that you were there at Rockingham?
There was only the four of us there.
Okay. Have you talked to Ed McCabe about it?
I did.
When did you talk to him about it?
I called him. Gosh, I'm really bad with time. Maybe a month or two ago.
And was his recollection different than yours?
Objection, Your Honor. Call for your side.
Sustain.
He keeps trying.
You told us you spent the night at the Beverly Hills Hotel because O.J. didn't want any of the three of you in his house.
Right.
And that the next day that Nicole came back to Rockingham with Ed McCabe.
She went back to Rockingham.
Did you go back with Ed McCabe?
Not that I recall, no.
And if you recalled that differently, would you have any opinion about that?
Objection.
If you recall that differently, would you have any opinion about that? I guess a vague.
Do you recall Nicole leaving the bungalow at the Beverly Hills Hotel with Ed McCabe?
No.
Do you recall how she left the Beverly Hills Hotel?
She left on her own.
Did she have a car?
Yes.
Is that how you got to the Beverly Hills Hotel in her car?
Yes.
And the place you stayed was what they call a bungalow at the Beverly Hills Hotel?
Right.
It's like an apartment unit. It's not really a hotel room.
Right.
I want to now direct your attention to the incident that you referred to as the Red Onion incident.
Okay.
And at that time, you were dating a gentleman by the name of Dino Bucola.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And he's a pretty special person to you, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
He's a man that you dated for about 4 years,
Yes.
and that you still see him, although not romantically.
Right.
And would it be fair to say that Ed Bucola is a surrogate father to your young son?
Who?
That Dino Bucola is the surrogate father to your young son?
Actually, they're really good pals.
He refers to him as my little buddy,
Yes.
but he doesn't. Your son does not see his natural father, does he?
No, he does not.
And the person that he relates to as the father image is in fact Dino?
Actually, no.
Does Dino pick him up on weekends and take him on outings?
He comes and sees him usually on Sunday when
And
he's in town.
How long?
This line of questioning is, Your
Overruled, I think it establishes a relationship with Mr. Bucola, but I assume there's not a whole lot more.
No, no, no. And for how long a period of time has he been seeing him on Sundays?
It's not every Sunday. It's whenever Dino's in town. He sees him. It's been over, gosh, he met Sean when he was 3 months old. And it's been ever since.
And how old is Sean now?
Sean's 8.
Up until recently, you've been living with your parents, with Sean, in Laguna?
I still live with my
You
parents.
still live with them? And
Oh, yes.
that's been also all through Sean's life?
Yes.
Overruled.
During the time that Nicole was separated and later divorced from O.J., you told us she had her own place on Gretna Green,
She was living in Gretna Green, yes.
and then she had her own place on Bundy.
Yes, she did.
Did you ever live with her during those periods of time?
On Gretna Green or Bundy?
Yes.
No, I did not.
Did she ever come back home to live with the family?
To live? No.
The incident that you were telling us about at the Red Onion, and you told us a list of people who were there, and I don't want to go over it, but it was about 5, 6 or 7 people.
Right.
At that time, were you also still drinking?
Oh, I was drinking at that time, yes.
And how would you describe your consumption of alcohol?
I said I had a problem.
That can mean different things to different people, and I don't mean to embarrass you, but on this particular evening, could you tell us how much you had to drink, if you recall?
Oh, I don't recall how many drinks, no.
Can you give us some type of approximation as to what your drinking pattern would be like?
On that night, we were
Yes.
doing shots of tequila.
And how many shots would you imagine that you would drink? I know it'd be impossible to remember precisely.
That night, I don't remember.
Could you give us any idea?
I don't remember.
If you're
How about-
drunk, you
did you have
don't
any
remember.
margaritas there?
Yes, we did.
Remember how many margaritas you had?
No. It was in between dancing, going having a drink.
It was a party atmosphere, was it not?
Yes, it was.
And the Red Onion was very crowded,
Yes, it was.
a lot of noise,
Yes.
a lot of loud music.
Yes.
And how would you describe your state of sobriety when you were at the Red Onion?
Happy?
In terms of intoxication, if we use the terms sober being one who had just consumed a minimum amount of alcohol but still would be able to drive, and drunk and intoxicated in between, would you be able to put yourself on that scale?
Well, I would not have driven home.
And isn't it a fact, Ms. Brown, that your boyfriend at the time, Dino, was the designated driver for the evening, and he was the only one who didn't have anything to drink?
Right.
And you've talked to him since about this event, have you not?
We discussed it vaguely.
And his recollection is different than yours, isn't it?
Objection, Your Honor. Call for hearsay.
Sustained.
He keeps trying.
You told us that your sister met O.J. Simpson when she was very young, I believe was 18 years of age.
Yes.
And you're aware, are you not, that just prior to that she was dating another gentleman who was in fact older than O.J. Simpson?
Objection, it's irrelevant.
Sustained.
You described your sister to the district attorney as being smart, as being intelligent, and as being very beautiful. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you also describe her as being independent?
Yes.
Did you describe her as being strong?
Yes.
Did you describe her as being tough?
I may have said those words. I don't know.
Did all those things apply?
Yes.
Did you describe your sister to the district attorney as having a temper and a mouth on her?
Probably.
I take it there are times that even you and your sister had disagreements.
Objection, irrelevant.
Overruled.
Not very often.
Did it ever happen?
Irrelevant.
On occasion.
Did you ever say things to her that you later regretted?
Counsel, this is a sister-sister relationship, siblings. Doesn't tell us much.
Husband-wife.
That's the whole continuum.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just was trying to bring out the volatility in relationships,
No,
even among
no.
family members.
Counsel wants to object if she plays it, testify.
All right, let's move on.
Thank you. Did you, from time to time, meet friends of O.J. Simpson and end up dating them?
Who?
Anyone, any of his friends?
I have dated a
Is
friend.
this relevant who Ms. Brown dated?
Let me see counsel at sidebar.
If he lets this go on without letting us know about the earring,
Mr. Shapiro.
I'm not quite this there.
Darren, that one's called for. Mr. Shapiro.
Yes. The incident at the Red Onion, there was another friend of Mr. Simpson's there, a football player named Reggie McKenzie.
Yes, he was.
Is he a gentleman that you also have dated and been romantically involved with?
No.
Have you dated him?
Have I dated Reggie?
Yes.
No.
I want to now direct your attention to the incident at the recital.
Okay.
The recollection of events that you have is that O.J. was always behind Nicole,
No, he was behind me.
and Nicole was where in relationship to you and him?
She was one row back and to the left of me, and OJ was on the other corner to the right of me.
Was he behind her?
I don't think so, because she was at the very last row.
When you say he went to the corner with the chair, was he behind her or not?
I don't think so. I think they were parallel.
Parallel. And your attention was directed more towards watching he and your sister rather than watching the show and the performances?
No, at that time I was concerned about where my son was.
How long into the performance was this?
When they went outside to play, I'm not really sure.
Do you have any idea as to time framework?
Gosh, I really don't know. It was before Sydney came on to do her dance.
Do you remember O.J. leaving without flowers and then coming back sometime later with flowers?
No, I don't.
Did you see him walk in with flowers?
No, I don't.
In fact, you never saw him give flowers to Sydney,
No,
did you?
I did not.
And you've told the district attorney that he didn't give flowers to Sydney.
I didn't see it. I didn't see him give her flowers.
How much time elapsed from the time that you were leaving the performance to the time that you finally said goodbye to the people outside?
The people, meaning
Did you say goodbye to people before you got in your car and left? Out in
we
front?
said goodbye to OJ and to Ron Fishman.
And how much time elapsed from the time you left the theater or the auditorium to the time that you say goodbye to O.J. and Ron?
Oh, just a minute or two, a couple of minutes.
What was O.J.'s demeanor when you said goodbye to him?
Quiet.
May I just have a moment, please?
Certainly.
With the court's permission, we'd like to show a video of Mr. O.J. Simpson at the Paul Revere School, just leaving the recital for purposes of impeachment.
All right, have we seen this before?
Yeah, 352 objection at this point in time.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, given the hour, I'm going to take our recess as far as the jury is concerned. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember my admonition to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions about the case. Conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you. Don't allow anybody to talk to you or otherwise contact you. And we will see you back here at 1:30. And Ms. Brown, you can step down. Please don't discuss your testimony with anybody else. You're ordered to be back here at 1:30. All right? And you.
If you order it wrong on purpose, he'll stop asking you to order things like that, and he'll do it himself.
I believe she testified.
She testified to regarding O.J. Simpson upon leaving the concert.
I believe she testified that he had quiet.
That's correct. Impeach that.
All right. Do we have the tape queued up?
Yes, we do, Your Honor. Will we play it, please?
All right.
Yeah, this is what Mr. Dart gave us. We have to get our own.
Well, then it's a good thing we looked at it first.
Yes, I think so. Maybe a different tape, knowing Mr. Dart.
It's just a mistake, it may change.
Take that as a compliment.
Are we rewinding the tape? Mr. Fairtlow, is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
All right.
Be kind. Rewind. Judge. I didn't know you were that kind of criminal.
Please.
Yes, Your Honor, we will just a little bit, I think.
Bye, Donald.
Oh, I missed part of it. I didn't see the beginning. I'm sorry. Yes, this video was taken by Mr. Scott Kennedy, an investment broker. He sent a copy to the prosecution back last July. We never got a copy until last week. You will see Denise Brown kissing Mr. Simpson. See Mr. Simpson kissing Judith Brown. You see at the end Mr. Simpson laughing and talking with Mr. Lewis Brown. The other gentleman in the kind of red sweater, that's Ron Fishman, was there. They were smiling and talking again. The vehicle that drove up, the Cherokee vehicle that drove up, that was Jim Simmons, Nicole Brown, something that in the vehicle. And also that's Justin, the son of jumping in his arms. This was taken after the conference.
Recital.
Recital.
All right.
Recital.
Simpson matter. Mr. Simpson is again present with his counsel, Mr. Shapiro, Mr. Cochran, Mr. Bailey, people represented by Ms. Clark, Mr. Dart, and Mr. Gordon. Jury is not present. Mr. Shapiro, I understand that you have a better copy of the videotape that you want the court to preview before it's used.
If the court pleases, I think it might be a little clearer. It's hard to tell because the equipment we've shown it on is different than the court's equipment, but with the court's permission, we'd like to run it quickly to get the court's approval.
All right, and after we run that, let's run the Firestone interview that the prosecution wants to run, and we'll hear motions on that. I'm ready.
That
All
was
right.
better.
Well,
I didn't hear any of the kids laughing that we heard in the first one.
We were both guilty. No one was hurt. It was no big deal, and we got on with our life. As a matter of fact, after
Start at the beginning, Your Honor, so this hopefully.
with the audio, please.
On 3 occasions in the last 8 years, O.J. Simpson appeared on this program with me. First off, a segment that originally aired in 1989. I asked Simpson about his pleading no contest to a charge of an assault on his wife, Nicole.
the day after this was over, we looked at each other and said, we had a fight. We were both guilty. No one was hurt. It was no big deal, and we got on with our life. As a matter of fact, after the Rose Bowl, we hosted a party for a great deal of amount of people, and mostly our friends. Took a trip with a couple of friends who never even knew we had an argument that night. And then 30 days later, I'm reading in the paper, this major thing had happened, quoting things that people say to one another in the middle of an argument, right and wrong. I mean, it wasn't all right what you read in the paper, But it was embarrassing. But because our relationship was strong and all our friends knew it, and they knew what they were reading wasn't necessarily the truth, hey, we just tried to put it behind us and ignore it as much as we could. We could have easily gone to court and been on the stand, and I think even the city attorney's office realized that they couldn't have won it, but that wasn't the point of filing. The point was to bring attention to a new law that's on the book and who better to do that than me? And I just said, why me? Why am I the guy that you choose to do this? I don't think I'm a good example, and I don't think this incident this night was a good example of what you guys are trying to, bring to light.
All right, Mr. Cochran, do you want to address the Firestone segment?
Yes, Your Honor, perhaps we should have an offer of proof regarding this, but I can anticipate their offer of proof and then address it if Your Honor, whatever order Your Honor wants to proceed in. I have a 352 relevance objection to this. First of all, in talking with the individuals from that show, this is a tape apparently made in April of 1989, which doesn't say that. It was April of 89. About maybe 3 months after Mr. Simpson had entered a no contest plea. And everybody keeps talking about the search for truth. Why don't we just show the certified copy to the jurors that Mr. Simpson took responsibility for the January 1st, 1989 incident, went through counseling, paid his debt to society, and we've now spent the first week of this trial talking much about that. And I think at some point it becomes clearly a 352 incident. Now, if they're trying to show this in the context of an April 1989 show, and Mr. Simpson is a guest on Roy Firestone's close-up show, his response to what he'd already done, by this time he's entered the plea, he's on probation, Judge, and that's hardly the setting which one would want to talk about this spousal abuse situation involving one's wife, and you saw the response. So I think that this is irrelevant and immaterial. I think the real facts of this would be the certified plea, which we'd be glad to get for the court and present to the jurors of what happened in that case. That case was resolved except he had to successfully complete probation, which he did. And so I would object to the showing of the tape. I think that it certainly is 352, that it doesn't really add anything or help us particularly. If they've got a specific offer of proof that can change our minds, then that's one thing. But the way the record stands now, I don't think they have that, Your Honor.
Mr. Darden?
Well, Your Honor, I don't think the law requires us to change Mr. Cochran's mind before we can admit relevant evidence in this case. Obviously, Mr. Simpson minimized his conduct on January 1, 1989. His statement to Roy Firestone, in fact, is more than just minimizing the incident. It's an outright, untruth. As for Mr. Simpson taking responsibility for his actions, he pled no contest. He never said, I'm guilty, I did it. He pled no contest. He said, I won't fight the charges anymore. He never admitted it. He never admitted beating his wife in public, though he did admit that in the letters to Nicole, the private letters to Nicole. And so his statement to Roy Firestone is a prior inconsistent statement as well.
Subsequent.
Yeah, subsequent. In addition to that, I think the videotape becomes even more relevant given Mr. Shapiro's request that we play the videotape of the recital, or of the events after the recital. When you look at that videotape, the one from the recital, and compare it to the Firestone video, Mr. Simpson doesn't seem real happy on June 12, 1994. And I think that perhaps we should allow Ms. Brown to look at both videos and compare and contrast the defendant's demeanor. And of course, we understand that the 1989 video was filmed 5 years prior. But I think that only enhances the relevancy of that video.
All right.
Yeah, that is absolutely grabbing at straws. That show was not 60 Minutes. That was Roy Firestone on ESPN Sports. And now we're to be told that look at it to characterize his happiness on 2 occasions. That's for the jury to determine. And I think the jury will clearly be able to determine that, as Mr. Darden said in his opening statement, he was in a dark and ugly mood. We saw what dark and ugly mood he was in. I think that's why they don't want this thing shown particularly. The other thing, O.J. Simpson was shown in 1989, about 3 months after he entered the plea. And nobody ran around worrying about when Spiro Agnew entered a no contest plea. The judge tells you, as you know, Your Honor, that a no contest plea is tantamount to a guilty plea. And so he accepts responsibility for that. And he did it. So, I mean, all the rest of this is falderall. We have to go through all this time, when the man has paid his debt to society. It has nothing to do with a murder case. And in fact, It is character assassination. And all these little attempts to bring these other incidents in have nothing to do with anything. We should get on with this case, Your Honor. And so this is just another example, and we object. And I want to again reiterate, this is a sports show in which he responds and talks about it. And the other thing, he talks about a consistent statement. He is consistent with what he said to the detectives on that night. They had a wrestling match at some point, but he accepted responsibility. He wrote the letters to his wife. What he said to his wife was what's important. Not what he said on television to Roy Firestone and the characterization of it. And what he did in court was important, because that's where it came.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think they went to the recital. And then they went to dinner at the Red Onion or whatever. And while they were at dinner, didn't OJ come in and like sit at the table right next to them and flip his chair around so that he was sitting like straddling the back, or not? I don't remember exactly what they said, but his chair he was facing directly at Nicole, and he just sat there and watched her. And he didn't say anything. He just looked mad and mean, and he just sat there and watched her. And then they left the restaurant, and then that was the night, I think, that it happened. Right?
And that's where it counted. So,
Mr. Cochran, before you surrender the podium there, let me ask you one other question, however. As to the foundational issues, as to the Firestone tape, do you lodge any objection now that you've had the opportunity to speak with the producer or whoever it was, the representative?
no, I don't lodge any objection based upon foundation, except to say this is a sports show, Your Honor, where he's a guest on the sports show.
I understand that.
Yeah, and the rest of the show, let me just say this to you. The shows are 24 minutes and 30 seconds. They've taken 4 minutes out of context. And you know what, Judge? If they're so interested in the truth, why don't they show the entire tape when O.J. Simpson, who's there as a sports star, is talking about sports matters? And then he's hit with this question about the thing with his wife. Now, wouldn't that be relevant if we're going to do the whole thing? And so I have no foundational issue specifically, but except it's taken again out of...
Isn't he able to play the whole tape? Like, the prosecution can play whatever they want. Isn't he able to play the whole tape if he wants to?
context. It's a sports show. Roy Firestone is not Mike Wallace. Would you agree with that, Your Honor? That's rhetorical. I think you don't have to answer it. So I think that makes the point. So why don't we show the entire interview with O.J. Simpson?
You really want to get me in trouble?
No, I won't do that to you, Your Honor. But I think clearly the court understands my position in this matter. It's 4 minutes out of 24 minutes and 30 seconds.
Well, what I'm trying to ask you, Mr. Cochran, if at some point in time this tape becomes relevant or it's usable for any other purpose, do you have lodge any objection to its authenticity?
No, I wouldn't lodge an objection to the authenticity, but I would like to see the entire tape because it's taken out of context. I don't know. My original argument was that sometimes these programs are taped, they're cut, that sort of thing. I was told it's on real time, and I accept that. But I was told also there's a lot of other discussion. The fact that Mr. Darden seeks to just show this part, I think we're entitled to see the whole thing.
Have you seen the whole thing?
I've never seen the whole thing. It's not been...
But he already said that the rest of the tape is him talking about sports. That's not relevant. So why would they play that?
Been offered to me, and I'd like to do that. With regard to our tape, you're seeing the whole thing. We're not cutting and pasting.
All right, then let's do this then, counsel. Let's allow the defense to see the entire tape before the court issues any ruling regarding this excerpt. I haven't seen the entire tape either.
I'd like you to see it also.
I've already rolled.
Mr. Cochran always stands in front of the court and tells the whole world how he's so interested in the truth. And every time the truth he's confronted with it, he runs away from it.
No, he's just,
Okay.
what I heard him just say is he wants to see the whole tape before we do anything further.
Mr. Cochran is aware that there's no other discussion on that videotape relating to domestic violence. Okay. All right. The jury doesn't need to hear how many yards Mr. Simpson ran for in 1973. We all know that already. There's nothing else on the tape that's relevant. We'd like to put the tape on, perhaps with Ms. Brown, and move along with our case.
Well, I don't know how Ms. Brown can testify to this tape.
Well, I think Ms. Brown can compare and contrast the defendant's demeanor between the June 12 incident and the 1989 incident.
Well, isn't that sort of oranges and apricots?
No, it's oranges and oranges, Judge.
All right. All right, let's proceed with Ms. Brown, and I'll allow Mr. Cochran the opportunity to see the full videotape.
This afternoon, Your Honor?
I hope so. All right, let's have the jury, please. Please stand, please. All right, good afternoon, Ms. Brown. You're reminded you're still under oath. All right. Mr. Shapiro, do you wish to complete your cross-examination?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I'd like to show you a videotape and ask if you can identify the people who are depicted in the tape that are relevant to this case. Would you please do that for us?
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Shapiro, what is the evidence number on this
I
tape?
believe this is going to be 1002.
All right.
The court pleases. Thank you.
Paul Revere.
Hi, Rainey.
Recognize what is depicted in that brief video?
I saw us saying goodbye to OJ
And where were you saying goodbye to O.J.?
at the Paul Revere High School.
And was
Or
this
middle school.
directly after the recital that you have just testified to?
Yes.
May we just show some portions of it, Your Honor, and stop it so Ms. Brown may be able to identify for the jury the people who are in the video?
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Judge.
This is Ron Fishman,
And is he married to somebody that you know?
Cora Fishman.
Thank you. May we continue, please? Let me stop it here. Now, there's somebody who is wearing looks like a blue shirt with dark hair facing a gentleman who is O.J. Simpson. Do you know who that person is?
That's me.
And what were you just doing at that time?
I gave him a kiss goodbye.
And right to your right is a gentleman. Who is that?
That's my father.
And right to your left is another person.
That's my mother.
Thank you. May we continue, please? May we stop it right there? What was your mother doing there?
Oh, I just saw the car go in front of it.
Okay, let's
I'm
see
sorry.
if you back it up and show it. Stop right there. The person who was just kissing O.J.'s room.
My mother.
May we continue, please? Person not shaking hands with O.J.'s room.
I don't see anybody shaking hands.
Let's see
Which
if we can play that back.
My dad.
And there's a vehicle in front. Whose vehicle is that? Can you tell?
I'm not sure if that's Dominique's or Nicole's Jeep.
Those are identical Jeeps?
Yes.
Or similar Jeeps?
Yeah.
Can we continue, please? The gentleman right here in this one?
That's Ron Fishman.
Okay. And the little boy who is getting a kiss and a hug?
That was Justin.
That's Justin?
Yes.
Can we continue, please?
That's awesome, Fozzie. Drink a beer.
Yes. I think it was Nicole.
I'd like to show the witness a photograph that we would like to have marked as our next exhibit 1003. May we put this up on the screen, Your Honor?
I think they're trying to say he wasn't in a bad mood after the recital, or I don't know. I think that's what they're trying to say.
All right.
In this picture, would you identify the people, please?
That's OJ and Sydney.
And is this the way they were dressed at the school?
Sydney's costume looked different.
So you would say this photograph, in your opinion, was not taken after the recital?
Well, the top part is Sydney's costume, but I don't know, the bottom doesn't portray the bottom of her costume here.
So you would say that this
Oh, there it does.
I'm sorry?
Okay. Now it does, he just changed it.
Okay. Would you say this is the way that Sydney looked after the recital?
With her costume on, yes.
I'm sorry.
With her costume on, yes.
And is that the way OJ looked after the recital?
I wasn't there when the picture was taken.
No, I said, is that the way OJ looked after the recital?
Question's vague, Your Honor.
Yeah,
Overruled.
I guess.
Nothing further, thank you.
We'll leave the picture up for a moment, Your Honor.
Certainly.
Ms. Brown, take a look at Sydney's the expression on her face.
Yep.
The defendant is smiling, isn't that correct?
Yes, he is.
Sydney smiling?
No, she's not.
And she's looking away, isn't she?
Yes, she is.
She just danced in a recital at her school, had she not?
Yes, she did.
That was a good
Thank
point
you.
there, Darden. That was a good point.
Mr. Shapiro, about Ed McCabe, a former boyfriend of yours.
Yes?
And you told us that he is in the advertising business. Is that correct?
Yes.
Was he in the advertising business in the early 80s?
Yes, he was.
Was he in the advertising business that night when he threw you and your sister out of the house?
Yes, he was.
I'm sorry, was there an objection, Your Honor?
What's the grounds?
On the grounds that that question is an improper question of cross-examination, whether it's in the advertising business, has nothing to do with being thrown into a house, and it's obviously prejudicial.
Did he work for Hertz back in the early 80s? That is Ed McCabe?
Ed McCabe did the advertising.
He did advertising for Hertz?
Yes, he did.
And he's still in the advertising business, isn't he?
Right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and back in the early 80s when Mr. McCabe was doing advertising for Hertz, Mr. Simpson was their #1 spokesman, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Are you aware that Mr. McCabe is married now?
I heard that he had gotten married, yes.
Did you also hear that the defendant was his best man at his wedding?
I did hear that, yes.
You also told Mr. Shapiro that your sister was intelligent and strong, tough. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did she have a habit of keeping things to herself?
Yes, she did.
So she was strong that way, wasn't she?
She was very strong-willed.
You saw the video a moment ago.
Yes.
Did you see the defendant pick up Justin?
Yes, I did.
Did you see him shake hands with different people?
Yes.
Did you see him point his finger?
I don't remember.
Can we run the video one more time? Sure. Okay.
I don't think we've had any evidence yet so far of the murder at all.
You just saw Ron Fishman, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Is he someone that you've seen since your sister was murdered?
Yes, I have.
Do you know any reason as to why he would avoid a subpoena in this case?
Objection. Can we approach her?
With the court reporter, please.
Yes.
All right, thank you, counsel. Ladies and gentlemen, please disregard the last question. Mr. Darden.
Ms. Brown, you mentioned, we'll strike that. Can we continue with the videotape, Your Honor?
Right.
Okay. Did you see Mr. Simpson shake hands with your father there?
Yes, I did.
Now, did Mr. Simpson complain to you that he was suffering from some type of acute arthritic flare-up in his hands?
Then?
Yes.
No.
Was there anything about his mannerisms that suggested to you that he was in pain?
No.
Did he walk with a limp?
No.
Both your sister Nicole and your sister Dominique owned black Jeep Cherokees?
Yes, they do.
Continue. Stop there. You just saw the defendant lift his son Justin, is that correct?
Right.
Okay. And how much would you say Justin weighed back on June 12, 1994?
He weighs about 75 pounds.
And Mr. Simpson didn't appear to have any difficulty lifting his 75-pound son, did he?
No.
Continue. Have you been able to tell at all which car Nicole was in?
I haven't really been paying attention to the
Okay.
cars.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, let me roll back then just a moment to the arrival of the second vehicle.
There's a difference between the two.
And what is that difference?
Dominique's has a V8 on the back and Nicole's does not. A little sign on the right back corner.
Okay, well, let's go back to... Play.
I think I did.
Okay. Okay. You saw an emblem in the lower right-hand corner of that black Cherokee?
I think so.
Okay.
No.
Do we have a small capability on this VCR? Let me ask. Do we have a slow-mo and/or freeze frame?
Absolutely not. That's
Obviously,
witchcraft.
freeze frame.
I'm going to answer your question. There's another.
Mr. Cochran wants to take the witness stand, Judge.
We're just, I want to know, do we have a slow-mo capability on this case, this VCR?
No.
Okay.
You have all this other space-age stuff and no slow-mo. Jeez. Ms. Brown, you think you saw the V8 emblem on the right rear of the first
I think there
vehicle?
was something there.
Okay. And that vehicle would have been driven by your sister Dominique?
Right.
So the second vehicle then would be the one driven by your sister Nicole?
Right.
Okay. Did you ever see the defendant address your sister Nicole that afternoon?
That evening, no.
Continue the tape. Now, the defendant's demeanor, up to the point that he smiles at Dr. Fishman, apparently, is that his normal public demeanor?
Before he smiles at him?
Yes.
No, he's usually happy.
And did he appear happy up to the point in which you saw him smile?
No, no, not really. Nothing in particular.
Okay. Uh, Go ahead. Play the tape. Okay. Was there anything at all unusual about the way the defendant used his hands that afternoon that you saw?
No.
Now, you told us that you had an alcohol problem, right?
Yes.
Did the defendant have an alcohol problem?
Sustained.
Go ahead, one moment, Your Honor. Thank you. You just saw the defendant's demeanor in the videotape outside the recital, is that correct?
Right.
Is that the way he appeared inside the recital? That is his demeanor?
No.
It was different inside?
Yes.
His demeanor at the rear of the auditorium was different than it was out in public in front of these other people?
Yes.
And what was the difference? What is the difference?
Well, at the end of this tape, he was laughing and smiling and showing. Inside the auditorium, he wasn't. Inside the auditorium, he was watching Nicole and looking, and no smile on his face at all.
Thank you.
Mr. Shapiro? Certainly.
There's enough light. He was talking to her parents directly in front of her. So she was in one row. Her parents were in the row right in front of him, and he was facing them, talking to them. So she saw him, and then she saw him when he sat down.
Video where O.J. is picking up his son, and I would like the witness to see if she can refresh her memory whether O.J. is screaming with a little pain when he lifts up his son. Were you able to discern from his mouth movements and his voice that he appeared to be in pain when he was lifting up his son?
No.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Anything more on that, Mr. Darden? All right, Ms. Brown, I'm going to excuse you for this afternoon. However, I believe you may be recalled as a witness. You're directed not to discuss your testimony with anybody other than the lawyers in the case. Do you understand the order?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Darden, your next witness, please.
All right, guys. It's time to stop for the day. I hate this. I hate this part. I hate stopping the McDonald trial, and I hate stopping this trial. It's driving me crazy. I just want to roll right through it. But we will do it tomorrow. I don't know. I know some of you have watched the Netflix documentary and said that it doesn't give much more information. We really haven't gotten much information yet. I mean, it was longer than 2 minutes, Fuzzy. They really haven't gotten into anything yet. We got way more information from the prelim than we've gotten it in the trial so far, and it's just so many sidebars. But you know, we'll pick this up tomorrow. It's a long, long trial, so I will see you all soon. I have a video coming out in a couple hours, so don't forget to watch that. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. See ya.